How often do you hear people say, "Man, the world we live in is crazy, and it's falling apart"? And while I do tend to agree with that, history shows us that our planet has faced much greater adversity throughout its time. Nonetheless, it's easy to let societal struggles get you down and divert you off your path and into a dark space. This is where I've been lately, and I'm sure many of you watching may have happened to have found yourself there also. Stress is a natural response, something we shouldn't forget, but finding something to help ground ourselves back into a conscious mind is essential. And for me, it's driving dirt roads, staring endlessly into a stunning landscape, and hearing the crack of a fire as the evening cool air rolls in. These battles we face cannot be solved in a day, but through strategy and reflection, and something I can only work on myself, alone in nature. Howdy, my friends, and welcome back to another one. Today's episode is no different than any other. Same old thing out here in the backcountry with my dog. But instead of overlaying history and whatnot, I'm going to bring in more of my own perspectives and some more of a personal side of myself, because I've realized I've never really done that. Now, I know I tend to keep my videos sort of black and white, just more to bring you guys the adventure rather than talk about myself or what epiphanies I have out here in the forest. But I've realized some of you have followed me for almost 4 years now, and you don't even really know who I am. So that's kind of my intent with this weekend up here in the Pinalenos, is to sort of talk about me more or less, because I want to connect with you guys better. Now, living in Arizona this time of year, it's really hot, if you didn't already know that. Hotter up in Phoenix, more or less, but I know I've already been out here once, and the caveat with living in southern Arizona is we have all these little sky islands scattered about, but you either drive 4 or 5 hours up to places I've been 100 times, or I drive 8 to 12 hours into another state. So I decided I was going to come out solo last minute and make this video and kind of give you the rundown of this whole place and myself. Now, I totally understand if this sort of talking head, I don't know, epiphany, I guess you could say, type stuff is not your forte and not entertaining type of video to watch. Don't get me wrong, I don't like it either. So realize this isn't just going to be me talking the whole time. I'm going to take you through some of the coolest places up here on Mount Graham. I've already ran into a lock gate in one area I thought would have been beautiful. A lot of this stuff has been shut down, unfortunately. I actually tried to go down a really nasty road a little bit ago, and it bumped my whole heat shield up into my drive shaft, so it's just grinding and whirling like crazy. So I need to get that fixed once it cools down under there. But yeah, I'm definitely not just going to be talking this whole trip. I want to find and show you guys some of the coolest camp spots. I'm going to try to take every dirt road up here possible this weekend, which is going to be pretty easy because there's not a whole lot. A lot of designated campgrounds. There's Riggs Flat Lake, which is pretty cool, but it's kind of a busy area. But I'm going to try to find trails like this that are off the beaten path so you guys can come up here and enjoy the same thing I'm doing. Now, you're probably wondering, where the heck is the tundra? You guys are probably getting tired of seeing this RAV4 in every video, and don't get me wrong, I'm getting kind of tired of taking it out. It's just not that capable. Perfect for this stuff, but right now with the temperatures being consistently 105 in the afternoon, I work in it all day. So when I get home, the last thing I want to do is work on the tundra, and it needs some work, but soon enough, I'm going to have it back on the trail, and we're going to be ripping some sweet desert stuff. So stay tuned for that, but for now, we got the old red RAV. Starting to lose that sunlight pretty early now. It's the first week of September, and it's pretty nice to get the sun going down right around, 6:30. It was nice to have these long days, but It's probably 63 right now. It's almost a little bit chilly, so you can't beat it. I'm really excited for this fall to start coming in. I went extra lazy on this trip. I didn't even go to the grocery store. I just hit Quick Trip on the way out here, and not a bad sandwich. I gotta say, the hardest part of solo camping is this time of the day, by far. Throughout the day, I have no issue, you know, hitting up trails, doing that thing, getting out here, getting some cinematography done. You know, it's a lot of fun, but that sun goes down. That's when the loneliness really seems to start to set in. There is sort of that eerie factor of being alone out in the wilderness, of course, but it's not so much that. It's more just the presence of you, I guess, disconnecting from society, no technology, my phone's off, I have no music, just out here alone. And it might feel a bit lonely, but it's also sort of refreshing to a sense, you could say. I can't really explain the feeling. Every time I go out and solo camp, it's the same way. It's this refreshing sort of unsteadiness about being out here alone, but I'm so fortunate to be able to do it. I know a lot of people who have never solo camped, and I gotta say, if you've never solo camped, I would do it just to get the experience. You know, go out one night, don't push it. The longest I've done is 4, and that was pretty challenging, but come that 4th night, you know, you're just ready to go back and see people. But do it for 1 night, give it a shot, then do it for 2 nights and see how it is. Bring a book, you know, that's one really great way when you're out here and you're by yourself. You know, once that sun goes down, it's really hard to convince yourself to stay out here and stare at a fire. A fire, in my opinion, is best enjoyed with friends, and clearly I have none out here other than that dog that's laying out 100 yards past the camera right now. So bring a book, bring some music. I'm not encouraging you to get drunk, but drinking some booze does help as well. It kind of cures the loneliness. So, kind of curious, do you guys prefer solo or do you prefer going out with friends? I prefer to go out with friends, but every now and then I need a refreshing trip like this. So let me know in the comments. Now, I'm not sure how many of you can relate, but I swear the best night's sleep I get is out here. Just all the way through the night, sleeping hard, having crazy dreams. In the last couple weeks, I've been sleeping terrible at home, just waking up throughout the night, you know, back and forth between my couch, between my bed. My wife gets pissed at me, so usually just end up sleeping on the couch. But when I'm out here, I don't know if it's the cool air and just the sound of the pine trees ripping through, but I sleep so well. And with this swag tent, I leave the screen open all night, just let the breeze come through. I can hear the wind just cutting through these pines. It's so soothing. So I don't know if that's what it is, but I'm curious, do you guys sleep better when you're out here? You know, rooftop tents, I would sleep great. I don't always sleep great in the back of the Tundra, but with a tent like this, even when it's windy, the flaps don't slap together. You know, I don't hear the zippers. I just sleep so good. So I guess I should probably talk about this white dog and who she is. I realize some of you probably don't even know her name. Recently I've had a couple friends ask, what even is her name? Friends that have been out on 10 trips with me don't even know what to call her. I just usually call her dog, but her name's Milela, and I got her about 3 years ago, I think. She's roughly 3.5, maybe 4 now. I'm not entirely sure, but she was adopted, more or less, you can say, and it's actually kind of a funny story. My wife and mother-in-law own a feed store, and people come in all the time, and they have dogs they need to get rid of, fosters, whatnot. So they came to my wife, the daughter of an 80-year-old couple. The 80-year-old couple had bought her and fell ill, and knowing that this dog would turn out to be 140 pounds, they realized they couldn't keep her, and she was just much more than they could handle. Most people can't handle a dog this size, nor can even give them the appropriate life. So we met the woman, and we picked her up, and immediately there was this strong bond I had with her. She bonded with my wife, but there was this attachment she had for me. And I even remember the first night we had her, when she was stuck to my side, laying on the couch with her. I could, you know, just kind of, I realized that I'm probably going to be stuck with this dog for the rest of her life, and that love was definitely reciprocated. I'd never had a dog like this before. No dog that, you know, I could look in the eyes and just feel this bond immediately. So that was really cool. But a couple months went by, and the son of the couple that had bought her reached out and said that the daughter had stole her from him. She was actually his dog. And he was preparing to come at me with law enforcement. He said that I was in possession of a stolen dog and I committed a felony, all sorts of stuff. And 2 months had gone by, and I was really attached to this dog. You know, she was going with me to work every day. So I put up a fight. I wasn't about to let her go and stay with some family that I didn't know if they had good intentions for her. So I decided to prep a lawyer, and eventually he decided to back off. I never ever in my lifetime thought I'd go to court over a dog, but here she is now. I won. And what she is she's a Great Pyrenees. These dogs are typically extremely independent, very stubborn. They originate from the Pyrenean Mountains in France, where sheep herders would turn them out independently for their entire lives to follow flocks of sheep. So naturally, like I said, independent and stubborn, but I began training her from day one, and I feel like I probably lucked out. A lot of these dogs are not receptive to command, but you know, she'll come to me with a whistle. It's not quick, she doesn't do anything quick, but she does come eventually. I can turn her around on a dime if she's doing something. If she goes after another dog or something, she'll immediately listen to me, stop, and respond, which is great. Like I said, I feel like I've probably given this dog the best life she possibly has. She goes with me to work every single day, Monday through Friday. I take her everywhere. She's been to all 4 corner states, and I was recently thinking about the fact that she's probably been more badass places than people do in their entire lifetime, and she has no idea. But I really wouldn't want to go anywhere without her, and you know, these adventures wouldn't feel the same if I didn't have a dog like this, especially this dog. She's just she's my best friend, and you know, I really couldn't ask for a better dog. She's been great to me, so I like to think that she's living her best life out here. All right, so now we are going to go down just about every trail this mountain has to offer, and I'm going to show you guys and see if we can find some cool camp spots. I know a two off the top of my head, but I've never gotten to the extent of exploring this whole mountain range, so that's what we're going to do now. I don't often travel solo for a few reasons. The fear of having a catastrophic breakdown far from home without service, getting into a tricky situation that would be better addressed with companions, or simply just having companions to avoid loneliness. I grew up as an only child with working parents, so you could say loneliness is a familiar feeling. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up as a kid, so I don't struggle being alone. But where I do struggle is becoming caught up in my own thoughts. I think one of the best ways to combat the messiness of one's own mind is here alone in nature. Being by myself allows me to expand on creative thoughts and try to implement new things into my content, something I've had an impasse with lately. I want to expand and grow as a content creator and bring new ways of entertainment to you all, but of course not to divert in the niche I believe I've captured. I'm quite dogmatic in my philosophy, and that's something I'm working on, opening my mind to new things. But I believe this martyr type trait I have can keep me original to my content. I never want to become the creator who sells his soul to the scheme of partnerships and brand collaborations and dilute my content with gear I don't believe has much benefit to you. If I can find a product which I truly believe in, and I can share some sort of discount or price break for my cooperation with the brand, of course I'm going to pursue it. I truly enjoy the thrill of making content, putting it on this platform, and whether or not I can help you in your pursuit of exploration or bring you some sort of enjoyment of the adventure, I'm going to continue to do it, and if I go broke doing it, so be it. So this is an excellent camp spot right here. I've been down here many years ago. This is not the spot that I camped with my dad. We will go down that road. Road's pretty rough getting in here, so you don't have to expect many people. I have driven this before, and there was a couple down here camping out, but I went down a few roads. A lot of them that aren't highlighted yellow on Onyx are in fact locked, which is really disappointing because there's some that go over onto the north face of the pinalenos. I think they would have a stellar view, but I don't know if it was post-fire, pre-fire that they locked all these gates, because that side is just torch, but unfortunately no longer accessible. So contrary to what many people think, YouTube does not pay the bills. It does pay for my groceries when I go camping, pays for my fuel, in this car at least, in the Tundra not even close. But to all 75 people who have joined me on Patreon, your contribution means a ton to me. And I know I have a lot of new people to the channel, and I get questions a lot, you know, hey, what camp spot is it at this time marker? You know, what route is this? And I used to give out coordinates just kind of leisurely to whoever may ask, but I have to honor the people that are setting aside their hard-earned money to contribute to what I'm doing here, and it would just be entirely unfair to them if I was to be giving out coordinates to, you know, just any old person who walks and comes across the channel. I just can't do that to these people. You know, they've invested in me and I got to invest back. So if you are new to this, you're new to my channel, I would emphasize joining me on Patreon. I do have 3 tiers. I try to keep, you know, every description of each trail. I upload the routes onto Onyx, and I can send you a link. Anything you want on there, I'm happy to send it to you, just because of the fact that, you know, you're helping me by contributing to this whole endeavor I'm doing here, so that means a lot. So join me on Patreon. It's White Dog Overland if you have not yet. So outside this make-believe world we call content creation, I do have to pay my bills some way or another, and I run 2 businesses. My first one I started in 2018, worked very hard for this business. I got an auto loan. I bought a Ram Dually. It's a 2004. It was a really nice truck. It was a 6-speed manual. It could pull a house down. And I had about $500 in my bank account from working a part-time job. I went out to local farms, started picking up hay bales, loading it into the back of this pickup that, you know, I was making monthly payments on just to try to keep up with that and make rent. And slowly started generating more and more customers, going back and forth between the farm, between customer's house, and eventually I had enough money down the road to buy a full semi truck, you know, like the ones that you see on the side of I-10. Man, it's getting really windy. So now 6 years later, I've grown the business to a point where I am one of the largest, if not the largest, hay retailer, livestock feed broker, whatever you want to call it, in Tucson, maybe even southern Arizona. And it's something I'm extremely proud of. I have only one guy that works under me, and we work relentlessly Monday through Friday, stacking hay on a trailer, moving it into people's barns, you know, climbing up the side of crazy mountains to get to these people's houses that have no way to bring their own hay in. So it's a lot of work, but I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a new experience every day, and I get to be outside and do what I love, and it's great physical work. My other business, I don't have to put as much sweat equity into. I did work hard to get to the point where I'm at now, but it's kind of a different world from what I'm used to in the blue collar field, you could say. In 2020, I got my real estate sales agent license, and my grandma, who had been working in Tucson many years as a real estate broker, she actually just decided to retire this year. I won't tell you how old she is, but you would be astonished if you knew. She was in the business for 50 years, worked her buns off to get it to where it's at, and this year, about 3 months ago, I actually got my my real estate broker's license. So now I'm working as a real estate broker in Tucson. Of course, the housing market has kind of gone bottoms up, but you know, that's why I have the other business, so I can pay the bills. So if you're in Tucson or, you know, surrounding areas, you're looking for a house, you're looking to list, hit me up. My philosophy behind work and money is quite simple. Keep your lifestyle within the means of what you make and try to save for your future generations, even though this is pretty daunting nowadays with the recent inflation surge. I see our time as a far more valuable thing than currency. We spend our glory days slaving away for the man to earn a buck and repeat. Fingers crossed by the time you hit 60 or 70, you put enough away to finally enjoy life. Well, I don't think that's any way to spend the short time we have on Earth. Don't you want to spend the time when you're the most able-bodied, doing what you might not be able to accomplish later in life? Now, you're probably thinking that's easy for you to say, Guy. You own 2 businesses. Well, that's why I laid out my story first. I did come from a middle-class family, and they gave me great opportunities growing up. It's impossible to see and visit all the beautiful places of our planet in a short time we call life, and I'll never even see a quarter of what just this country has to offer. But I'd much rather make enough money to carry on and invest more in my time and experience what I can. So unfortunately, my favorite camp spot up here was taken. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm yelling at you, it's getting really windy. I don't know how well this camera is going to pick up the audio. Yeah, just up the road, one of my favorite camps, very secluded down this road. It's a bunch of people at it. Can't blame them, it's a really good spot, but fortunately there's so many off this trail that I can just find a little spot. I need a snack, I didn't eat breakfast, so I'm gonna make something to eat real quick and then we'll get back on the road. So my passion for history started when I was really young. It started out with like World War II history, you know, a kid with G.I. Joes, that sort of thing. And then eventually, over the years past, started to divulge more into like American Southwest history, cowboys and Indians, you know, the things a 5 to 10-year-old would just fall in love with, and go figure I did. It could be the fact that my grandfather was just infatuated with Apache history out here. My grandfather was definitely the inspiration for a lot of the historical passion I have now. I remember in his office growing up, he had just bookshelves of Apache literature and pictures of Geronimo and Cochise and, you know, books about Tom Horn, that sort of thing. And he was so wildly intelligent, he'd tell me all these stories and I just didn't really appreciate it back then the way I do now, but I really wish he was around to, you know, see what I'm doing now, because I think, you know, I want to say he's definitely my biggest inspiration. I think he would really appreciate, you know, coming out here and telling this sort of stories. Things that he did in the past and I'm kind of recreating, living through him. So when I was in grade school, elementary, I was really good at writing, and eventually I just started writing stories and, you know, remarks I found through history on World War II and tales of the Southwest, and I was given a couple awards when I was younger for my literature on history, and it's just something I've always kind of pursued since, but I never really figured out how I can continue to act on it as I got older. So I guess having this sort of YouTube platform is my way to continue to express it, and it gives me an excuse to continue to, you know, learn about it, study it. I can then go home and write a script about all these things I've learned. It's kind of nerdy, but I really enjoy writing. At the end of every day, I usually go home and find a good historical book, and I sit down, I try to stay off my phone and just read that, and then pull out a journal at the end of the day, write about my day, write about thoughts, you know, inspirations for next video, that sort of thing. And I really just enjoy journaling and reading, especially when I'm out here. I bring a journal, I bring books. It keeps me entertained when I'm solo. So I'm fortunate for my love for history, and YouTube, I guess, because I can continue to combine the both and bring entertainment to you. So I'm almost pushing to the extent of the roads that I can hit up here. I'm going to take you down one more longer trail. It's the only trail that I've been able to ever find that actually goes and looks out onto the north side of the Pinalenos, out towards like Safford and the San Carlos Reservation. So I'm going to take you guys down that one, do one more sort of interlog about myself, and then I'm going to finish this whole Swift Trail loop out towards the end to one of my favorite camp spots. I'm going to bypass Riggs Lake. It's okay. It's a beautiful lake. I'm sure it's going to be extremely busy over there, and I just really don't feel like being around people right now. So there is a lake up here, guys. It's called Riggs Flat. It's beautiful, good trout fishing. They stock it well, very clean. There's some campsites around it, but I'm just gonna skip that. We're gonna go down this, and then I'm gonna finish this trail out. So you might be wondering, are the Pinalenos worth visiting? And I would say yes. It's a great escape from the summer heat if you live in southern Arizona. It's a busy place for sure, but there's plenty of dirt roads to find yourself a nice secluded camp spot. And if you're into hiking, there's endless trails on every slope with some incredible views, as this is the tallest range south of the Mogollon Rim. And with the Chiricahuas an hour south and Aravaipa Canyon so close by, you can easily spend a few days in the area and see some of the best geography this half of the state has to offer. So I may have just found one of the most secluded and challenging roads on this whole mountain. Challenging. I'm like one road over. Riggs Lake is just over there. It's pretty close. If I put the drone up, I can probably see it. But this is it's about 3/4 of a mile down here, and a lot of the times people will see, you know, a 4 or 5 inch washout and they'll call it quits. But what it seems like up here is once you hit that lake turnoff, people don't go any further west. That direction is west. Every time I've been up here, it's like that. I think the lake is kind of the, you know, big thing to come see. After that point, they just go back to their paid camp spots and call it a day. So this is likely one of my favorite camp spots up here. This is a great camp ring. It's nice and open. You can fit a pretty decent amount of rigs. So this is definitely a good one. So aside from my YouTube portrayal as an outdoorsman, I grew up with the same fascination and love for it as I do now. My dad is probably the man to blame for my love for the outdoors. He sparked the interest in me at a very young age. My history runs very deep here in Arizona. He's a third-generation Arizonan. His dad was the first person to start a minor league baseball team in Tucson, initially named Jameson's League, and it grew to be the Toros and Sidewinders. So I'm sure if you're a local, you've heard of it. And that was actually my dad's team that he started way back in the 50s. My mom's dad worked as an astronomy engineer. He worked for the University of Arizona and actually was one of the first people to work on the observatory up on Mount Lemmon. He built, you know, motherboards, that sort of thing, back in the 50s. So my family's contributed a lot to Southern Arizona, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about it. Both my dad, grandfather, uncle, they all spent years out here hunting, fishing, hiking, all over Southern Arizona. They can name any trail out here. I mean, my dad has been everywhere. Last place I came out with him was actually up here, and I know, Dad, if you're watching this, we need to get back out again very soon. When I was just, you know, 6 to 10 years old, I can remember my dad taking me out. He had a 90s Toyota Tacoma. He bought it brand new. Took me all over the place, taught me cardinal direction, all sorts of animals, you know, just getting the feel of the land. And I swear by the time I was 15, I could name pretty much every mountain range here in Arizona. So by the time I was 17, I got my first pickup truck, a Toyota, of course. So I always remember my dad pounded it in me. If it wasn't a Toyota pickup or a Japanese pickup, it might not get you home. So I just stuck by that and eventually got myself a Tacoma. So by 25, I had, at the time, a Tacoma. I had 4 at that point. Loved all of them. A couple of first gens, couple of second gens. Tacomas were great trucks. I obviously had to change, but this was a year before I started my YouTube endeavor, and I had all these vehicles, all this experience. I swear I had hit every single mountain range in the Coronado National Forest and, you know, stuff to the west. I could name you every trail by that point. And then I figured, heck, why not share the experiences with you all and kind of give you some insight to a lot of this land. I've learned so many valuable lessons spending time out in nature, just learning and appreciating it. And this is something that, as my dad did for myself, I hope I can pass down one day too. And, you know, not every experience was a good experience. And those, you know, bad times always turn out to be the best memories. And it's something I'm thankful for. You know, it might get your blood pressure elevated in the moment you go out and get somewhere stuck, but when you get home, you realize you didn't die. And, you know, trip after that, you bear these memories and you talk about it and you reflect on it, and I just think that's such a fun thing. And those memories are the exact reason I keep coming back out and doing this over and over again. You know, we never want to have bad experiences out here, but things happen, and you just have to reflect on it and learn from your mistakes and do what you can and have fun, and that's the most important part. So past this point in our excursion on this road, there's really no more spur trails to go down. I've been down pretty much every single one of them. A lot of lock gates, like I said before, but there's a couple, you know, real short half-mile type trails. I've been down them before. I don't think they're really anything to highlight, so I'm going to continue pushing west towards like Clark Peak, and from there I'm going to finish that loop out, maybe take one more trail down a little area and just let the cinematics roll. So I hope you enjoy, guys. So I come to this point in the story where I unintentionally grew a platform just simply sharing an experience. The channel definitely started slow, subpar quality, shot on an old camera and edited on my iPhone. And I'm sure many of you remember that, and I hope to hear from you who stuck around since that point. For some reason, you put your faith in me, and without you, I'd have never even made it here. And for that, I want to say I thank you all for the continuing support and love. So that Clark Peak loop loops us back around up to the more graded portion of the road into what is easily my favorite camp spot up here, if you can't see why. On a clear day, you can practically see the Mogollon Rim, but what you're staring at right now is basically the San Carlos Apache Reservation behind me. The Safford Valley, Morenci out that way. This is an incredible vantage point, and really the only spot you can actually see out to the north on this whole mountain range. Now, if I was going to camp tonight, which was my original plan, this is where I would be staying for the rest of the day. But my wife has a horse show this afternoon, and in 10 years I've never missed one, so I'm feeling a little bit guilty, you could say. So that's going to be the extent of this video. I am going to head back to Tucson and make sure I don't miss her show. October, I've got some big trips planned. One in northern New Mexico. Again, like last year, I'm trying to catch the fall color change because that is just incredible. And this area, in about a month or so, is just going to be yellow. That whole aspen thicket I went through is going to be so beautiful. So if you're watching this now and you want to catch some fall colors, the end of Clark Peak Loop, that's a great spot if you want to see the yellow turn to crimson. I expect maybe mid-October would be a good time to do that. There's a couple trails off that lower portion on Clark Peak that might take you down to some good camp spots, but off the actual main road, there really isn't anything. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry this one was so short and kind of just the talking head, but my whole goal was to connect with you on a more personal connection because a lot of you, like I said, don't really know who I am. I'm just the guy behind the camera. So I hope I was able to elaborate on my story, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit me with a comment if you did, and I'll catch you on the next adventure.